All right, let's go ahead and solve some equations with rational exponents and roots in them. So look at this first problem here. It says example 3, the cube root of 4x squared plus 8.5 equals 19.8. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that positive 8.5. We're going to subtract it using the opposite. And so when we subtract that over to the both sides, it will cancel this piece out, and it'll still leave us with the cube root of 4x squared equals to 19.8 minus 8.5. What's that going to give us? 11.3. Now, even if you're stuck, perfectly fine. We can go ahead and type that in. I like having my numbers in Desmos anyways, because sometimes calculations become a little bit bigger than what I can just do in my head. So I get that 11.3 in there. Now, one of the things that you're going to remember, or hopefully remember, is that we have this cube root, and a cube root tells us what is in the denominator. That is the denominator of the exponent. Okay, so that is the denominator of the exponent. And so I'm going to write 4x squared, and the denominator of this whole entire exponent is 3. If you remember, that is the same thing as 1/3 equals to 11.3. So 4x squared to the 1/3. The 1/3 is the same thing as a cube root, and equals 11.3. Now, how do I get rid of that 1/3? I want that thing to go away and become a 1. So simply, all I'm going to do now is I am going to take that 1/3 and I'm going to flip it using the reciprocal 3/1. I'm going to do that on both sides, okay? So this 3 right here cancels with that 3, that 1 cancels with that 1, leaving us with nothing but 1 there, or canceling it out and everything becoming 4x squared. Now, I'm going to come to the other side, and this is where those calculations become a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to throw this into Desmos, 11.3 to the 3rd power. And that's going to give us 1,442.89. Let's go ahead and just round everything up to 1,442.9. Now, what do? This is just our basic algebra stuff. I'm going to get rid of that multiplying by 4. How am I going to get rid of multiplying by 4? I'm simply going to divide by 4. Okay, so 4 divided by 4 cancels. X squared is going to come out. Okay, and then I'm going to type in 1,442.9 divided by 4. That's going to leave us with 360.7. So equals to 360.7. Okay. Now, how do we get rid of that square? We should know this. We get rid of the square by taking the square root or the half power. It doesn't really make a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. The square and the square root will cancel out. And that leaves us with x equals 2. And let's take the square root of 360.7. So square root SQRT of 360.7. And that leaves us with about 18.99. Now, you will remember every time we take the square root. So if we are taking the square root, there can be 2 answers. There can be a positive answer and there can be a negative answer. If there was a scenario, we'd have to pay attention to what we would be using, a positive or negative. But if we're just taking the square root, we know there's going to be a positive answer and or a negative answer with that solution set. So let's go ahead and just check it. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to type in our 2 sides of the equation. So I'm going to write g of x. I like to give my functions a name. And what that means I'm going to do is I'm going to name one side g of x, and I'm probably going to name the other side f of x. So I have 2 different function names. And I'm going to graph each side and look for that intersection to verify my work. So we got to do the cube root. So I'm going to go to functions. I'm going to scroll all the way down as far as I can until I find the root with an n. And then I'm going to put cube root inside that cube root. I'm going to write 4x squared. I'm going to push that positive 8.5 outside of that cube root, end it, and then I'm going to give the other one a name, f of x equals to 19.8. Okay, and what I'll be doing is looking for that solution set. You can see there's 2 intersections, just like we were talking about. Our answer should be 18.99 positive and negative 18.99. And we may get that answer. We may be a little bit off by rounding, but if you look at it, it looks great, 18.99. and negative 18.99. So we just shared our work, and can you feel the warm embrace of algebra as we have just solved that lovely problem?